Welcome to Readability. I'm your host, Ashley Kelson. In Readability, we read all kinds of stories, from short storybooks to large chapter books. You could sit down with family or just lay back and relax. Every Saturday, we read, review, and recommend different books for your listening pleasure. I really hope you enjoy Readability. Let's get started. Little heads up before we get into this week's episode, I did want to mention that I did accidentally spoil something in the description of the book, so if you haven't read The Reptile Room, I would go quickly read it. It's a super short read. Also, if you, for some reason, don't have the time, you can go watch the Netflix original. It's pretty accurate to what happens. Just wanted to make sure everybody understood and nobody would get mad that I accidentally spoiled something. Without further ado, let's get on to the episode. Hey you guys! I know I said last week that I would try to think of something new and different, but I was kind of stumped to think of something new. So today we are going to be doing another review. We are going to be continuing the A Series of Unfortunate Events series, The Reptile Room by Lemony Snicket. I'm really excited to share my thoughts about this book and what it's about. I also would recommend going to episode 14 to catch up on the previous book, The Bad Beginning. I would also like to mention that my podcast is now available on Apple Podcasts, so if you want to go check that out, you can. So, without further ado, here is my review. Last review, I talked about the first book in the A Series of Unfortunate Events series, The Bad Beginning. After all of that mess of events in the first book, you would think that the Baudelaires would be happy with their new guardian, Uncle Monty, or Montgomery. Well, no. After hanging with their cool new guardian and seeing his amazing reptile room filled with snakes, frogs, lizards, and all kinds of reptiles, the Baudelaires find out that Count Olaf followed them and ended up disguising himself as Uncle Monty's new assistant, Stefano. You would think that Uncle Monty would see that, wait, that looks like Count Olaf, but surprisingly not. The Baudelaires are doing their best to stay away from Count Olaf and convince Uncle Monty that Stefano is not who he says he is. After many questionable events happen, an example, the incredibly deadly viper, which is actually a misnomer, but you'll find that out in the book. Something happens to Uncle Monty. One morning, the Baudelaires wake up to see Uncle Monty dead in the reptile room, and Stefano claiming that he was bitten by a snake. Obviously, the Baudelaires don't buy that. You follow the three Baudelaires, Violet, Klaus, and Sunny, as they try to prove that Stefano is Count Olaf, mostly to Mr. Poe, who's very bad at looking closely and seeing the truth. The book is entertaining, mysterious, and fun to read. Lemony Snicket does a great job constructing the story and making it fairly easy to read and convert into the Netflix original. This idea is very intriguing and got me, personally, hooked into the story. Also, I believe the books get more advanced and thicker the more you read into the series, so that's a win for me. The book is surprisingly only 190 pages long. As all of the books are in the series, there are 13 chapters in the book. I do not believe this book has won an award. The author is Daniel Hadler, or Lemony Snicket, which is his pen name, and the publishing brand is Scholastic Inc. If I had to rate this book, I would definitely give it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I love the setting and Uncle Monty himself, but if you want to hear more about that, stay tuned for my character thoughts. This book is a super quick read and worth it. If you enjoyed the first book, The Bad Beginning, I bet you'll love this book just as much. You can see the Baudelaires shine as they use their talents to solve this mystery. Granted, it has been a while since I've read this book, so I'll settle for a 4.5 because I did enjoy this book a lot. Now that I've given the book a rating, it's the question, would I recommend the book? It really depends. If they read the first book, then 100%. It's a great sequel and extends the series really well. Though if they haven't, no. They wouldn't understand the events happening and won't have a big grasp on who Count Olaf is and what he's done in the past, and especially Violet, Klaus, and Sunny and how smart they are. So it really depends if they read the book or not. But if they have, yes, I would definitely recommend this book to them. Time for the highlight segment, a time where I spoil a lot. Not counting the description, that was an accident. So here we go. I guess I should have mentioned this in the first episode, but I'm going to include it now. I've always liked how Lemony gives us information about the Baudelaires, at the same time teaching us sayings and words that help improve the reader's vocabulary. I also enjoyed having the dramatic irony included in the story. It made it super fun to read, already knowing what's going to happen. But overall, the aspect is good to have in a fictional book. I really enjoyed Uncle Monty and his character. I know, I should talk about him and the character's thoughts, but I just love Uncle Monty, especially the way he cared for the Baudelaires. I know we're only on the first book, but honestly, I believe that Uncle Monty is my favorite guardian. He is so kind and a great character to add in such a melancholy book. Alrighty, finally we have our character thoughts, my favorite section of the podcast, obviously. Here we go. Violet, Klaus, and Sunny are as amazing as always and are just so smart. They always find a way out, and I wonder every single time, how are they going to get out in this situation? And guess what? They do. They obviously work amazing all together, but they can shine bright on their own, shown in this book. Count Olaf. Horrible, as always. He is so much scarier in the books, and it makes me feel so bad for the Baudelaires that they have to deal with someone like him. He's evil, he's vicious, violent, and just overall a horrible person. And Uncle Monty was a new great character and just so kind. But as all great characters are, they end up, well, I can assume you know already. My favorite character was Uncle Monty in this book. Can you guess? I mean, who can say no to his coconut cake? Now, my least favorite character will have to be Mr. Poe for this episode. While on the show, he's so gullible, it's kind of funny. In the books, it's quite annoying that he doesn't see past Count Olaf's disguise. I mean, come on. Some kids figured it out before you. Thank you so much for listening to this week's podcast. I really hope, if you haven't already, you pick up the series and read through it. It's very entertaining and just overall a great series. Before I end this episode, I just wanted to show a message I got from a friend of mine. Thank you so much, and I appreciate the message. Here it is.
Hey Ashley, thank you very much for the shout out in your Lightning Thief review. Yes, it was a very good book and I loved it. You are an amazing podcaster. I'm waiting to keep up and hear more from you.
Thank you so much and have a great day, everybody. Here is our official readability ending. Thank you for joining me, your host, Ashley Kelson, on Readability. It has been a really great time, and I hope you join me again next week. Remember, every Saturday we either read, review, or recommend a book for your listening pleasure. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Keep reading, folks. Bye!